Hi guys. Next on my list, I started doing these catch-up repairs not too long ago. I did a few of them and uh, got put off again. One was the strap, the catch strap. Let me find it. So here I'm getting ready to drill the friction broken screw out. Originally the slot was stripped. It was stripped from years ago when I did the restoration. And then after messing around with it, as I said earlier, I got nowhere. Vice grips and everything else. So now I'm ready to drill it. I bought a number 7 6-inch drill, and this is the first time for me. So I've always dealt with these always being frozen, but the torch always freed them up. Ironically, out of the 4 motors, out of the hundreds I've worked on through the years, but the 4 that I restored, this one of the 4, is the only one I'm drilling out. So call that luck of the lady, I guess. Lady luck. I got oil on it. Again, I'm working around the camera. It's a little awkward. Let's see what happens. I'm going to shut it off just to start it because I want to make sure I'm straight and the camera's in the way. So hold on a second. So I didn't show it, but the drill was terrible. Brand new drill. I think it was $9 on Amazon. Very dull. So the hole is slightly off-centered a little bit, but for what it is, with the spring on there and everything, you won't even see it. But I was a little annoyed at the quality of the drill. I had no clue. There's no brand name on it or nothing, just a part number. So, but another thing too, I should have pilot drilled it first with either a number 40 drill or maybe a 3/16. But I didn't have a 6-inch drill either way. Next time, which probably won't be a next time, hopefully, I'll step drill it. I'll buy another drill and be prepared. But it's the first time doing this, so you live and learn. It's pretty cool. Now I'm just tapping it. And I had to kind of like come up with this setup here to get in there. Again, folks, this is a first for me, so. I'm using a 1/4-inch ratchet extension. And what I did is I pressed a socket onto the tap. And that's all she wrote. So now I got to hunt for a screw and a spring, and I'll show you when it's all done. So after a few minutes, I went and got a screw, and I had to cut down a spring to work, and it's all finished now. The screw's about 3/4 of an inch long in the threaded area, where it just gives you enough room inside here to push against the plate to apply the friction to the pivot casting that's in there, the swivel. So I'm pleased. Now all I got to do is a little touch up with some paint and clean this up a little bit here where I initially bent it out when I used a vice grip trying to get this thing apart a few days back. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit, degrease it, and just shoot a little paint in there. Take the screw out first, shoot some paint in there, and that's ready to put back together. I'm pleased. On a scale of 10, it's probably a 6 or a 7. I could have done better if I step drilled it. But anyway, it's only a friction adjustment. I would recommend if you don't have to do this, if you got a motor that's using salt water, an old one, these old Evinrudes, they all have them from the 50s up until the 76, I think, in 1976. You just leave it be. As long as your steering's not too loose, I would just leave it alone. That's only my advice. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. I have it all touched up and ready to be put back together. I straightened out the wall a little bit that I damaged. I sanded it a little bit and banged it back over. A couple of shots with the paint, and I just put the screw back in. Wasn't easy. And all right, let's start putting this thing back together. I'm ready to put the motor back together. I got the steering assembly all done, and it's looking good. Well, here I'm putting in oil after 30 years. First time this gear case is seeing oil on my restoration motor. Just another one of the things on the list to get this thing finished. So when I rebuilt this gear case years ago, it's got a new forward gear in it, new clutch dog. I don't know about the reverse gear, and all new seals. So anyway, this is a long time coming. I'm taking the magneto apart and repolishing all the brass parts. It's really amazing how the brass aged in 30 years. When I had it all polished back in the 90s, the gear shift lever, I kind of hate to take the patina away from it, but these were originally painted, these gear shift levers. They were painted with the same color as the engine. But I'm going to polish everything back up again. It's just nice for a display motor, you know. And repaint the laminates on the coils, polish the points, clean all the screws, and install it back on the motor. You know, this is the last time I'm going to do this, so now's the time. Back together. I polished the hardware, painted the top of the coils. I'm getting ready to polish the points. And as expected, if it focuses, after 30 years, the points are definitely oxidized. So I'm going to polish them with my blue Rolock disc. This is what I use right here. And it's time to change this disc. Blue is very fine. Medium grit is red or maroon. And coarse is brown. So here I got the magneto cover reinstalled. Manual wasn't on there for 30 years. And I decided to leave the flywheel black and the glass fuel ball on the opposite side black too. That's the only two items that basically are an original. But believe it or not, come 1977, OMC started to paint the flywheels black anyway with the introduction of CD ignition. So they started painting the flywheels black. So I'll leave it for now. Can always change it later. Another item that I never put on there was the stops for the low speed and the high speed. So I went through my parts and found some from another airbox I had, polished them and installed them. The only thing I'm missing is, and I have it somewhere, is the rubber grommet that goes on the back of the low speed. So that's another item that was overdue, and I repolished the needle valves and to make it look a little more presentable. Here I got the new washers installed on the mounts in all four positions. The original ones were rusty. Here's one here. And the other two actually had blue paint on them. So even though it's not original silver cat plate, they're stainless steel and they just look much better. So that item is done. And like I said, I still got the black glass bowl filter still on there. Well, believe it or not, the hoses are still pliable after 30 years. It's amazing. I guess because there's no gasoline going through it and it's not subject to the environment as much when it's stored indoors. And that's another item off the list. Also, I didn't have the 3 nuts holding the power head on in the front. I just had the 5 screws underneath. And mind you, I only ran this motor for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, back in 1995, and then I put it away. But this spring, it's going to be run again, and I'm going to do a video on it when I run it again. I want to make sure it runs good. Here I'm going to show you the what finally transpired from my strap situation. So like I mentioned, the straps I bought not too long ago on eBay broke. First time I tried it with the proper long hook like I mentioned earlier. So unfortunately the rubber just ages, 1958. These were probably made in 1957, so, or maybe even 56, because they use these on the 57 motors too. But so I'm hesitant about buying any more of these, like I said, because they just become hard and brittle. But the one I made works like a champ, and that's going to stay there. I did have to cut the pin again to get it out in 2 places. I replaced the pin the second time. And it's all good. Just about what else? Oh yeah, I also did the this was missing too. The standoff for the spark plugs. And that's all she wrote, folks. 1958 18-horse Evinrude. This was my second restoration. The first one I did was a 57 Johnson 18. Then I did this one, and then I did a 58 Johnson 18, which I have in storage. And the fourth one I restored was a 54 15-horse Evinrude. It's all in primer. I never painted it, so it just has to be painted. But I did replace the this bracket down here. Like I mentioned, it was cracked. So this got replaced and repainted after sandblasting and priming. And I put the ID tag on there because I didn't have the ID tag on the other one. Originally, this motor came from the scrapyard. And it was ran over by a payloader. The original cover got thrown out. The tiller was broke off. I replaced the steering handle on it. The midsection, the gear case, all that was good. The power head was still rebuildable. It still turned. Or just somebody scrapped it, tired of looking at it in their garage. And they took it to the scrapyard. And back in the mid-90s, from 1990 to 2004, I was very active. And that's how I acquired all my inventory of parts. Because I just loved it so much. When I was a kid, I met this guy in my hometown, and I met him on the water, and he had a 16-foot Garvey with one of these motors on there, 5818. And he said to me, we developed a friendship. He was a couple years older than me. He says, whenever you want to use it, just put gas and oil in it. Make sure you mix the oil right, and you can use it any time. And that started the whole love for these old outboards. And I used to go out with that 16-foot wooden Garvey with that 18 on the back. I remember the Fast Twin 18 emblems, what you see here. Very beautiful motor for the time, Still is. These 3-tone paint jobs, really nice. But that started my whole interest in these things. Years later, I'm still as passionate as I was, especially now that I'm kind of retired, so. But this is my 1958 18-horse Johnson, Evinrude Johnson. Oh, boy. Oh yeah, and I put the oil in the gear case too. There was no oil in the gear case. So that was, it was dry for all those years. There was no water in it, so that was a good sign because I did run it in water back in the day. You can always put a fuel pump on these. Very easy to do. I didn't do that. I still use a pressure tank on this one. And all right, this is it till I do come up with my next idea. I know this appeals to a limited audience. I hope you guys out there, probably most of you old guys, really like seeing these motors. You know, just reminiscence of our childhood. But I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next adventure. Have a good one.